All right, let's go ahead and get started with today's session. Welcome to Getting Started with Adobe Acrobat and Acrobat Sign. I'd like to introduce you to our first presenter for the day, Tony Lista, National Sales Manager, Education. Welcome, Tony.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I'm in the Chicago area today, and on behalf of Adobe, thank you very much for joining us here today. The topic is getting started with Adobe Acrobat and Sign. We're excited to show new users and more experienced users the fantastic features of Acrobat and Sign, including administration, user screens for Acrobat and Sign, and some very cool demos. Before we get to our Acrobat and Sign discussion today, let's look at our webinar and on-demand training series for Sign and Acrobat. We invite you to take part in these on-demand and future webinars to really unlock the power of these amazing products you own or are thinking of owning. The on-demand series, I'd like to point out a couple of the ones that I think would add significant value to organizations. Adobe Acrobat Sign and Microsoft Teams. If you're a Microsoft environment and your employees use Outlook or Teams, this is a great session to show you how to use the power of Microsoft and Acrobat and Sign together. The series below that, that's titled Adobe Acrobat Sign and Workday, is also a very powerful session. Adobe itself uses an integration with the HR module in Workday to do our employee onboarding, and for institutions, districts, and organizations that have a lot of faculty and staff or staff coming and going, it's a very powerful tool that we invite you to take advantage of. Today, we're going to be getting started with Adobe Acrobat and Sign. In March and April, we'll have other sessions that are noted here. And during the summer, there will be a significant series of other sessions that we invite you to attend. Before we get started today, what I'd like to do is to get a little bit of background of the people that are attending this series. I see over 200 attendees right now. What I'd love to know is a little bit more about the role that you have with your organization and what you're looking to get out of this experience today. So if you could take a couple seconds and just let me know your role, it would be useful. Yes, as we're looking at it, I see that IT is a significant presence. We usually see a large number of IT attendees. We have some finance and HR folks. Terrific. Leaders are always good because they're going to help make some decisions for the organization. And I want to see how people can, how to use with Microsoft, more about documents. Terrific feedback. And I think we're going to be able to answer a lot of your questions. And for our technical and business people, we're going to add some value for you as well. Thank you for answering that poll. So the title today is Powering Digital Transformation by Going Paperless. So even though the session has got this name, we invite you to think about the products that you either own now or are thinking about owning, Acrobat and Sign, and think about the ways that these tools can help you power your digital transformation for your institution, organization, or district. What is digital transformation? It means different things to different businesses and industries. Some think of it as converting paper to digital documents. Others think of collaborating digitally to merge digital files, repage, embed content, redline, and digitally collaborate with other colleagues. Others think of embedding electronic signatures and collaborating that way, and still others think of a seamless digital document workflow connecting various ERP, CRM systems with Adobe for automation of digital document workflows and e-signatures. What are you thinking about doing? Hopefully, we're here to help you get to the next step in your journey. COVID motivated many of our clients into digital transformations. Sign and Acrobat assisted our clients with transforming their office-based paper processes to digital paperless remote work processes. We believe that our digital document solutions, Acrobat and Sign, with e-signatures and workflow automation, will ensure that your institution, district, or organization will also get great value in your digital transformation process. For those of you that are beginning this paperless journey, what do you need to consider? In speaking with a number of clients on a regular basis, what I ask them to think about is a document journey of one of your organization's document workflows. In higher education, it could be enrollment and recruiting. It could be student services. In K-12, it could be IEPs. In nonprofit, it could be fundraising. There are a number of different areas where we consider the stage from creating a document through collaborating, getting a signature, archiving it, and later on retrieving it. COVID has made the future of work so that teams can be anywhere. Documents and the transformation contained within these teams have never been more important. How they flow through your organization and to outside constituents and customers is critical. We believe Adobe Acrobat and Sign can support your business transformation journey and help you meet this paperless process that you're looking to embark on. When you switch to digital workflows, you change everything. In a recent Forrester consulting report, they estimate that nearly 80% of education workflows still involve at least some paper. This isn't fun. This is challenging. IEPs, parent authorization forms, and school board minutes in K-12. How many of you deal with that on a regular basis? Recruiting and admissions, student services, dean authorizations, and HR onboarding in higher education. I bet you're challenged with that as well. Fundraising and constituent engagement in the nonprofit or government space. I know you feel these pain points. By switching to paperless workflows, like using the processes I described above, you flip the equation. Regular documents and their workflows are automated and integrated. They become easier to track and manage. Sensitive information is more secure, more compliant, and for all involved, it's quick, easy, accessible, and many times less expensive. This is an interesting chart that I thought I would put up here. We did some work with Forrester Consulting, three different studies. Those of you that like referencing the total impact of Adobe Acrobat Sign, January 22nd. Total economic cost of Adobe Document Cloud, August 2019. And digital document processes, August 2020, all Forrester Consulting. They indicate that the clients that put in Acrobat and Sign had a 30% increase in transaction speed, 25% improvement in compliance. This is a real important area for your industry. An 85% reduction in errors. How many of you have sent out a paper document only to find that it comes back incomplete or without the proper signatures? We can mitigate that on an 85% rate. This one is one I love in an area of an industry where employees are the single largest cost. There's a 1.5 labor hours reduction per document, and on average, a $17.50 savings per transaction. These are enormous. These are enormous opportunities for you to take advantage of, and we look forward to helping you get there. A couple of other things that I would love to point out for you is that in similar studies, PDFs are the #1 format for business. Well, in the last year, more than 250 billion PDFs were open in Adobe products. 250 billion. And 40% of these documents were opened in Microsoft Outlook. So what this means is that employees engage with PDFs all the time, and they need the right tools to edit, share, fill out, and sign those PDFs to make life easier in your organization. But I want to point out, not all PDFs are equal. Adobe is the leader in PDFs. We developed the framework. There are other providers, but none of them have got as much experience or are used as often as Adobe. Our PDFs are dynamic, secure, and can be leveraged between systems and used for collaboration and automation. This chart is, I'm going to point out a couple of things in this chart, more for talking points. Adobe has been working with education institutions for over 40 years. We've been working with thousands of clients in the higher education and K-12 space. Thousands of these clients use our products every day. We are a trusted provider to make sure that we deliver on your success. Our Signs product is one of the easiest to use out there. Clients that use our Sign product find that it's easy to get up and running. It's easy to use for both senders and receivers. And one of the areas that we like to highlight is that, particularly when it comes to workflow and digital automation, our products are designed to integrate seamlessly with other IT systems. So those of you that work in IT, our products work very well in the Microsoft environment. They work very well with most ERP systems, CRM systems, and we have a lot of built-in integrations that you can take advantage of immediately. One of the areas that we get a lot of kudos for is our end-to-end workflow management. Clients that use these products can literally take a document and automate the entire process, from moving it from a stored area to sending it out for signatures to coming back in and storing it in a proper archive basis. Easy to use and easy to do. Finally, our compliance standards are the best in the industry. We are recognized, and many of our clients recognize the fact that we're FedRAMP supported. What that means is that even government agencies use our products in highly secure environments. With that as a background, what I'd like to do is turn it over to my colleague, Alex Page. Alex will be showing you some of the demo features of the products that I've been highlighting. Alex is a senior solutions consultant, and I'm delighted to turn it over to him. Thank you, Alex.
Sure. Hello, everybody. So just to encapsulate a little bit about what Tony was saying, using Adobe Acrobat and Acrobat Sign, it's going to enable you to experience all that power of Adobe's Document Cloud, meaning you can create a document lifecycle that's contained in one ecosystem, from scanning to creating to protecting PDFs, to using multiple file types, to manipulating your documents, having real-time collaboration, to collecting legal signatures, even to storing your documents. And all this and more is possible with the synergy of Adobe Acrobat and Acrobat Sign. But before your end users can use the applications, you first need to entitle them in the Adobe Admin Console. So I'm going to cover that process briefly. I do know I've got some IT folks on the call, so I want to touch on that entitlement at a pretty high level. Secondly, I'll show you around the Acrobat Sign UI and show off some of Acrobat's features. And then thirdly, I want to show some features that are both available in Acrobat and Acrobat Sign, like the ability to send for legal signatures. So I'll talk about the commonalities that these apps share, and then I'm going to do a deeper dive into Acrobat Sign, which does allow you to send for signatures, as that name implies, but it does so much more. So there's a lot to go over, and I'll keep it at a pretty high level, but my goal today for you is to walk away with a firm understanding of not only how easy it is to enable these applications, but also how user-friendly yet powerful they are to accomplish all that you need to do throughout your documents lifecycle. Okay, and it all starts here in the Adobe Admin Console. Now, I'm not going to have time to dig too deeply into this console, but in a nutshell, this is where you're going to manage your users. So you'll bring them into the console, you'll assign roles and products to them. This is also where you're going to choose the ID type that you want your end users to use when they're signing into the applications. So either business IDs, enterprise IDs, or federated IDs if you are going to set up single sign-on. There are a lot of features here, but today I'm only going to focus on those that allow you to give your users the permission to use Acrobat and Acrobat Sign. Okay, so I'm here in my Overview tab. And this is where you land when you sign into the Adobe Admin Console. So in here, you're going to see all of the products that you have associated with this plan. You can find information on your pooled storage model. You can see all of the users, admins, and user groups that are associated with this particular agreement. And you can read some blogs. Over here, you've got helpful resource links, and these are going to be used mostly when you're setting up. And then some quick links up here that you can use. And then across the top, you've got your menu bar. So when I go to my Products tab, in the Products tab, this is where I'm going to see all the product cards for all of the products. So with respect, I'm an Acrobat Pro, you'll see the number of licenses that you have purchased versus the number of licenses that you have consumed. And if I click on this Acrobat Pro card, I'm going to see now in the center of my screen an expanded view of the console as it relates to that specific product, Acrobat Pro. On the left-hand side, I'm still going to see all of my products, and I like to point out that I've got Acrobat Pro, Acrobat Sign, and Acrobat Standard all residing in the same console. Now in the center, you'll be able to see your product profiles, and you can make custom profiles, but for now you only see in blue this default profile that's associated with this plan. Now the purpose of a profile is to be used to entitle users to have Acrobat or Acrobat Sign by assigning it to users or user groups. That's what gives them the right to use the applications. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. But I'm moving over to my Users tab at the top. This is where you're going to see all of your users and all of your user groups also. Now, we've got many options to bring users into this Users tab. One, you can add one at a time. For larger schools, that's just not practical, but you can do it. We also do have some other options that you can bring users in bulk. So one ubiquitous tool is our CSV template. This is just a template that you download from the console and you fill it out, and it's going to allow you to mass add, edit, entitle, remove users up to 5,000 at a time. So it can be pretty commonly used. But we have other options also. You go over to the Settings tab. In the Settings tab, this is where you can set up your identity using either enterprise IDs or set up single sign-on using your federated IDs. And setting up your identity just means that you'll create either an enterprise or a federated directory, and then you'll link it with your claim domain. Having said that, I'm always asked, why do I need to set up my identity? And the reason is that because your end users are now going to use these email addresses that are associated with your domain to access the applications. So if I want to create a directory, I'll go to Create Directory, and I can choose Enterprise or Federated. For today, I'm going to choose Federated. So you just give it a name and choose the box. And now when I hit Next, now I can see these three widgets that we have that make setting up single sign-on super quick, super easy. So if you use Microsoft Azure, you can use the Azure connector. This will just prompt you to log into Azure, and 4 or 5 clicks later, your single sign-on is set up. Same thing if you use Google. You can use the Google connector, Hit next. It'll prompt you to go through the processes for that. And you may have other SAML 2.0 providers that you like to use. You can certainly do that. You hit next here. It'll give you all the information on the metadata, for instance, that you need to set that up. So all of these methods that I just talked about will allow you to bring users into the Adobe Admin Console where IT can entitle them to have Acrobat or Acrobat Sign. But we do have one more way that we can have users get access to the products. Over here under the Process Access Automation tab, we have this feature called Zero Touch Administration. And that's going to allow end users to self-entitle. Now, they'll only be able to do that if IT does set those permissions that will allow them to do that. So for IT to entitle users not using Zero Touch, it's really just a three-step process. First, I'll go to my Users tab, and then I can create a user group. Creating a user group is very simple. I'll just call this one EDU. That's all there is to creating a group. Now I can go to the third step, and that is to assign a profile to the group. So I'll click on my group name, come over to my Assign Product Profiles, and then grab it through this blue button. Under the plus sign, if I select this, this is going to show all of the products that I have with this particular product plan, and also any additional profiles I would make. So for Day, I'll give them Acrobat Pro and Acrobat Sign and hit Save. Okay, now I can see under this group, the EDU group, both of these profiles are there. So any user that is now placed into this group by any of those methods that I just talked about, they're going to receive access to these great applications. And that's all you need to do from an IT perspective to entitle your users. Okay, now your user's entitled. Let's take a look at the Acrobat Pro UI. So this is a very, very organized, easy to use UI. So I do like to show it off a bit, but please don't let that ease of use fool you because there are a ton of features here. And I'm in my desktop version of Acrobat Pro here. So once again, I'm in the top left under the Home tab. This is where you land when you open Acrobat. And across the top, you're going to see some quick links to some of the main tools that we have. So you can edit a PDF, you can create a PDF, combine files, request e-signatures, and also fill and sign. Now on the left-hand menu, I can see all my files. So any recent files, any starred files, and these are just files that I have deemed important. I'm going to reference them a lot. I can always just put them in this area and they're easy to access. Also, I can see all of my files that I have saved to the document cloud. So I can see any scans, any files that were shared by me to others or shared by others to me. I'm moving down. I can see all of my signed agreements. So this would integrate my integration. This will take me to my integration with Acrobat Sign. And then under my file storage, we've got a few storage options. You can store locally if you want to. Many people do. I actually store to my OneDrive. But if you go to add file storage here, you can see that you can add storage accounts for Box, for Dropbox, for Google Drive, and OneDrive, which I have, and SharePoint. Okay, moving up here to Tools. This is where you're going to access all your tools for Acrobat. And there is so much versatility here. Actually, it's kind of crazy. Together, these tools, they're going to allow you to create PDFs, combine files. You can organize pages. You can edit PDFs, commonly done. You can export PDFs. You can scan and take advantage of our OCR, our optical character recognition. So if you scan in a document, then OCR can make it a fully functioning PDF. And you can also add rich media. Now, under Forms and Signatures, you can sign and certify in various ways. So you can request e-signatures, you can fill and sign, you can prepare a form, and also add certificates. We also have many ways that you can communicate with and share PDFs, whether you're sending for comments, whether you are commenting yourself, adding a stamp, whether you're comparing files, which I'll show you that in a moment, or using the measure tool. Also, you have many options to protect your PDFs, which I am going to go into detail in a little bit. You can also redact PDFs. You can set your PDF standards. You can optimize your PDF for faster or slower download times. You can also make your images print production ready. So 300 DPI is generally what happens with print. So you can make X1As and make them ready. Also, with our accessibility feature, you can make sure that your information reaches the largest audience possible. And then lastly, down here at the bottom, we do have some customization tools that will allow you to get specific to your goals. So you can create a custom tool set. You have options here to use the action wizard, which will allow you to set up specific behaviors. You can include index and also JavaScript. Now over here on the right-hand panel, you can also, now all these say open because I have them all over here, but it would say add underneath and you can pop them over here. So you can create your own customized menu bars if you want to. Okay, so once again, this UI is super friendly, but it's very versatile also. Now, when you are creating and working with PDFs, having all these right tools, it's definitely essential, but what's equally as important is the ability to not only easily access these tools, but have them at your fingertips no matter where you are. So that way your business keeps moving forward. So now I want to show you the online Acrobat UI as well as the mobile. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so this is my web UI for Acrobat. And you can see Acrobat Online has almost the exact same features as the desktop version. So I can still see all of my recent, starred, and shared files. I still have some quick links to some of my tools. And if I click all tools on the right, I can still see them all. Now they're grouped according to their usage, whether they're desktop tools, mobile tools, or web tools. I always like to keep it on view all because I use them all. So I can see all of my apps grouped accordingly, all of my editing tools, all of my conversion tools. And then down here under my e-sign tools, now I want to talk to you about a little bit of additional features that we have. So you can see the fill and sign and the request signatures functionality that I saw in Acrobat's desktop version. But the online version has 3 additional features that are also part of Acrobat's integration with Acrobat Sign. So I can create a usable template. And this is commonly done when you want to send the same document out to different recipients over the course of time. So make it once, use it over and over again, which I find is very convenient. Also, you can create a web form. And web forms can be inline on a website and accessed by anybody who can access your site. You also, when you're creating a web form, you can generate a URL and you can always email that to people if you want to. And then lastly, down here, we've got a send in bulk feature, which allows you to create one doc and mass send it to 50 people at once. So these 3 features, they drive your what we call one-to-many use cases. So they're going to save you a lot of time, but at least as importantly, they're going to eliminate the mistakes because they create consistency. Okay, now moving over to my tablet. I'm an Acrobat Online on my tablet, and you can see that this UI is remarkably the same. So I can still see all of my files here. I can see all of my tools. And under Documents, I can still see on the left-hand side all of my storage options that I've got. So your options are many, and they're all accessible from each device. All right, so I just like to show that off. I love the document cloud. Everything is always where it's supposed to be, and I can focus on the work no matter where I am, and I can collaborate with others no matter where they are. All right, so let's look at some of Acrobat's features in action. So first thing I'll do is just do a simple edit. So I'll come here, and I'm going to grab a file. I know I've got one in here prepared for you guys. Here it is, NDA template, and I'll open that up. When I open that up, now I can see my editing options across the top. So I can edit this PDF. I can add text. I can add an image. Oh, cancel that. I can also add or remove specific links. I can crop my pages, and I can add, remove, or update any headers or footers. Do the same thing with any watermarks. And then I've got some additional features over here where I can add backgrounds, Bates numbering, attach files, and things like that. And then over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to be able to see all of my formatting tools that I've got. Okay, I can also use this document to have a dialogue with coworkers if I want to. So I can just come up here to my commenting tool. I can click on that, and I can send this out to somebody. I want to know, this is an NDA agreement. I want to know what their thoughts are. Everything looks great. So all I do is post this document. And now in the very, very top right-hand corner, I can select this icon. This is going to allow me to send this out to a coworker. I just need to place in their email address. and I can see, just send them a quick message, have them review this. I can allow for comments or not allow them to comment. Maybe I just want them to scope it out. And I can also add a deadline. So one of the tenets of both Acrobat, Acrobat Sign, and actually Document Cloud is to keep business moving forward. So adding deadlines helps do that sometimes. And then when I hit send, this just goes out to James T. And it would take a little bit to get there, but he'll get a notification either in Acrobat or in his email or both. And that'll give him the opportunity to react to my comment here. He'll place his comments over here, and thus they have that dialogue. And once the comments are made, it's always going to save back into the shared files folder in my Acrobat account. So all of this happens securely in the Adobe Document Cloud. Okay, I also want to talk about the Protect tool. Protect is important to you. It is hugely important to Adobe also. So I'll grab the same NDA template. Up here in the top center, you can see there's a few ways to protect the PDF. So you can protect using a password, and you can set it for viewing or for editing. And then, as you can guess, all you need to do is just make up a password and then retype it. And when you hit apply, that end user now needs to enter that password to access the PDF. Under advanced options, you can encrypt with a password and encrypt with a certificate. And this is going to allow you to still set passwords, but you can restrict certain features such as allowing someone to print or edit that document. Now, also at the top, we've got a remove hidden information feature. And you'll find this is really handy. Say if you've got a PDF, often the document metadata can list your name as the author, and you might not want that going out into the public. So you can select this to remove any sensitive information. So you can see over here that the tool is finding the information. It's giving me the results of what it has found, and then it gives me the option to remove that also. Now, under advanced options here at the top, you can also refresh any security policies that you've got set up. You can set security policies. You can create security envelopes, and you can also manage your policies. Okay, now that's the Protect tool. And as you can see, it goes a long way to giving you options to protect your PDFs. I give a 1-hour session on just security features of Acrobat. So there are a lot more features that I can cover. Okay, one other tool I want to show you, because it's one of my favorites, is this, the Compare Files tool. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to grab a couple documents. Now what this is an agreement between two parties that defines the scope of work and how much they're going to pay for that scope of work. Now, I've actually seen people hold documents up to the light to address the differences in documents, or they'll lay them side by side and try to compare them. And that's a timely proposition. It also leaves you well open to mistakes. With the compare feature, you just grab the docs and you let Acrobat quickly do the work. So here, immediately, I'll be able to see the number of changes. And then when I come over here to select my first change, it'll tell me specifically what that is. Any other changes, they'll be called out specifically also. So I can click through them. And then when I'm done, I know that I can send this document out for signature with complete confidence in its accuracy. Okay, so that's a quick overview of Acrobat Pro. You can see it's a massively powerful tool, and it even integrates some of the tools like requesting signatures with Acrobat Sign. Okay, having said that, Acrobat Sign is a standalone application, has immense power of its own. So I'm going to show that to you. There are a ton of features here in Acrobat Sign that speak to the flexibility of Acrobat Sign. So you as an administrator, you can take advantage of the breadth of Sign and set up specifically for your use cases. Okay, I always say this is a nicely designed UI, but don't let the use fool you, just like I did with Acrobat. There are a ton of features here. So at the top, you can see your main tabs, and this is where you're going to land. You'll see all your navigation. The Send tab, this is where you're going to send agreements. So you can see where you place your recipients, the recipient signing order. You can add a message if you want to, and include files. And then over here, we've got options that you can protect your document. So you can password protect. You can also set a completion deadline, same reason as I mentioned before. You can also set reminders. So the main tenet is you want to keep business moving forward here, and there's can often be that one person who is a little bit just slow to make things happen. So you can give them a gentle nudge every week, every day, every business day, every other day or third or fifth day, just to keep business moving forward. And I'll go through this when I do a signing ceremony. Under the Manage tab, this is where you're going to be able to manage all of your agreements. So unless you purposefully set up Acrobat Sign to not house your agreements, all of your agreements are going to be accessible here, whether they're in progress, whether they're waiting for you to sign, whether they've been completed, canceled, expired, or in draft form. So if you have a completed document, you can open that document. You can always download a PDF and save it locally. And you can also download an audit report, which I'm going to show you also. Now, continuing on the left-hand side here, you can also get access to all the templates that you've made, any web forms that you've created, or any bulk sends. Now, under the Reports tab, you can generate reports, and they can be reporting on activity for your organization. It can be for specific groups or specific users. So you can get a really quick snapshot of what your report is and then scroll down and get to the specifics. You can also edit a report or create a new report and then change the filters that you want to report on. So maybe I want to just filter by a particular user, see what they're up to. You can certainly do that, or by a group. And you can also filter by a few other paired parameters here and then graph and play with your animation a little bit. So I'm going to cancel that. Okay, now moving to the Account tab. This is money. Okay, this is where you're going to establish that behavior for Acrobat Sign within your organization. And only account administrators are going to be able to even see this tab. So you'll set all of your global settings. Moving down here on the left side, you can set your signature preferences, any digital identity, security settings. There are a massive amount of information here that you can do. You can also view any workflows that you've created. And then down here under Acrobat Sign, you can get a lot of comprehensive information on our API. So the flexibility here under the Account tab, it is tremendous. It allows you to set up behaviors globally or for specific groups. And I do want to touch on groups a little deeper because often a school or university is going to have different use cases. So you can create different groups representing different departments, for example, and then those groups can have totally different experiences and permissions set for them. So then their behavior is different. So if I click on this default group, I can go to the group settings and I can check this box. What that means is I'm going to override the global settings and I'm going to establish a separate behavior for this group. So you've got a lot of flexibility. Now going back to the Home tab, you can also request signatures from the Home tab here or start a signing ceremony from your library. In your library, you can find some templates that you've created. You can also find any workflows that have been created with one of two ways. One, with our workflow designer, or two, with our Power Automate integration. And then down at the bottom in the home page, you've got quick links to many of those functions. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the UI. And now I want to put a couple of these features into practice and show you a simple signing ceremony. And a signing ceremony just involves sending an agreement out for legal signatures and then storing that final agreement in your Acrobat Sign account. So I'm going to go to my Send tab. I'm going to send this out to James T., my coworker. And now I can have James authenticate with his email or with a password that I set. I can have James answer some questions to make sure that he is who he says he is. I can also have him authenticate on his phone, or if he has an Acrobat Sign account, he can authenticate with that. Today, we're just going to leave James an email. And the message I'll leave as it is, but I am going to attach a file. So I'll come here to my files, and I'm going to grab this. And I'm not going to set any of these options, but we know that they're there. But down here at the bottom, I do want to preview and add signature fields. So I'm going to hit Next. So what's happening now is Acrobat Sign is processing this document, and it gives me the ability as a sender to do two things. One, this is an NDA document, so I might want to put my eyes on it and just make sure that these terms are the terms that I thought they were going to be. Also, you'll see in this blue bar, this is a notification from Adobe's artificial intelligence, Adobe Sensei. and it's saying, hey, I see some fields down here. They look like they could be form fields, but they're not fillable. Do you want me as Adobe Sensei to fill those in? Well, I'm all about animation, so I'm going to say yes. With one click, there's your fields. Now, I do have the option to come over to the right-hand menu, and I can drag in those same types of fields. So we've got signature fields, signer information fields, additional data fields, more fields, which I love that name. So what that means really is that you can add file attachment or hyperlinks, and then transaction fields. I know I want to get rid of that. Now down here, this is the work that Sensei did, but I want to double click on each one of these so I can show you what that looks like. This is assigned to James T, as we're glad. Here's the signature type, and you can see that it says signature. That relates to the signature fields over here, and it's required that James does sign this. So I'll hit OK. Now, under these two, I'm going to double click. It just says text input. I want it to say name, because what that means is when James signs, the name and also the date here, these are going to auto-populate. So less work for anyone to do on the back end. All right, so this looks pretty good. I'm going to send now, but take note here. I could say this is a template if I wanted to. Templates are great. As I mentioned, make it once, keep on using it. So today we're not going to do that. I'm just going to hit send. Okay, so I get this notification as the sender that says this has been sent out successfully. It'll also come to my email, which should pop up in a moment or two. Now, this is going out to James. James is never around, but James is always on his tablet. So what happens now is James will get a notification in his email. The signature is requested. He does not have to download anything, does not have to install anything, only has to have that email address. So when he hits the blue review and sign button, it'll come up in a moment. There it is. So here's the NDA. James can go through all of this, and then he can place his signature. So when I tap the blue bar, I can see three different ways I have that James can sign. So James can sign with his finger. James is terrible at that, so am I, so we're not going to do that. Also, James can upload an image of his signature, or today, James can just type in his name. So now I'll just hit apply. I'll hit finish, and then hit that blue tap to sign button. And now James is done. So James gets this notification in his email also that he's all set, and he can download a copy of that signed agreement. Now, me as a sender, I also get an email notification that that document has been completed. So I can go into my completed documents and I can open it up. So I want to open up the agreement. I want to make sure that James has signed it. He did. And notice that his name and date did auto-populate. He didn't have to do anything. I could download this locally, but it is saving in my Manage tab. And I also can download an audit report. So I'm going to do that and show that to you real quick. Audit reports are great. Here it is. And the reason why is they show you every single step of the signing ceremony, no matter how many signers you've got. So here I can see that it was created, then it was emailed to the recipient, James, viewed, signed by James, and then it was completed. And then up here, I can see my transaction ID or a register ID. Anyway, there's a couple ways you can, a couple terms for this number. Now up here at the top in this blue bar, this is your money shot. Okay, this is saying that this is a certified legal document. So that means that this signed document is going to be able to legally hold up in any court of law. And I can also go to my signature panel. I can validate my signatures. Just cancel that. And one thing I always like to point out is this little tiny lock up here. As I always mention, security is important to you. It's important to us also. So if I want to know about security, I can hit permission details here and I can drill down a little bit and take a look at them. But the one I'll point out for you today, because it's my favorite, changing the document, not allowed. So that means that the integrity of this document is going to hold up for all time. Okay, so that is a lot to go over. And I've covered a lot in a short period of time, I know that, but I really wanted to show you how easy it is to use the Adobe Admin Console to give your end users permissions to use Acrobat and Acrobat Sign, and then show off some of the most commonly used features in Acrobat, whether you're working on your desktop version, your mobile version, or on a web version. And then lastly, I wanted to cover some of these basic features of Acrobat Sign. Talk about the commonalities that it has with Acrobat, but also the differences. So both of these applications can work independently, but when they're working synergistically, they will give you a complete ecosystem for your digital document workflows and your e-signatures. And with that, I'm going to turn this back to Tony.
Alex, that was terrific. Thank you. That was amazing overview and summary. So for those of you that are newer users to Acrobat or Sign, hopefully that overview of the administrative console and all the features available in there was useful to you. Thank you, Alex.
Sure.
Before we wrap up here, what I'd like to do is just cover some high-level areas here, some next steps that might be useful for you all, and set it up for Q&A. Today, we discuss the benefits of Sign in Acrobat, compliance, ease of use, efficiency, and cost savings. In the box below or in the chat shortly, what we're going to do is provide you a few links that you can use down the road to help you out with providing useful information. And those things would be a getting started guide, a comprehensive guide containing all the information you need to set up and use your Adobe account. There's tutorials where quick digestible videos are available to you and your colleagues to use. There's custom workflows and template how-to videos that are easy to use for specific use case examples that you may be interested in. And there's a further deeper dive in the administrative console overview that Alex went through in a fairly comprehensive way. There are a few other areas that you might find useful. And then we have, for those of you that are educators, there's a resource hub for on-demand webinars and use case tutorials and fact sheets that will be useful to you. So we encourage you to take advantage of all of these videos and help guides, as well as some of those on-demand webinars that I talked about earlier on. So with that in mind, we'd like to move to Q&A.
Good afternoon, good morning, folks. My name is Corey Wood. Tony, I think you're passing it over to me on the Q&A.
I am, Corey. Thank you.
Awesome.
Sorry, Corey.
No, it's good. It's good. So as long as consider that an audio check. So again, good morning, good afternoon. Lots of great questions coming in on the chat pod. I think the collective team has been trying to address those diligently. Please keep posting them, and we will do our best to get through them now or as down the road as well. I'm going to try to take some of the questions. There was a number of them that sort of overlapped around Adobe Sign, Acrobat Sign, Fill and Send. So for Alex and Tony, and even Cindy that's out there as well, I'm going to try to condense this down. So bear with me as I try to look at this. But there's a lot of questions around what is Fill and Sign compared to Adobe Sign. What is the differences? Are they the same? Are they different? And some overlapping questions about what counts as a transaction in regards to that, right? So if somebody sends through Fill and Send versus Acrobat Sign, so I kind of putting out there that they are a little bit different, does that count as a transaction underneath an agreement? So sort of paraphrasing a bunch of different questions. I can dive into it a little bit more, but Tony, Alex, I don't know who wants to take the first stab at that to really talk about Adobe Sign versus Fill and Sign and, where it counts as a transaction or not.
I'm happy to go ahead, Alex.
So Fill and Sign is you're just basically placing your signature on a document and you're letting people know that you're paying attention is how I always put that. As opposed to Acrobat Sign. With Acrobat Sign, you're collecting legal signatures. And the whole point of that is to make sure that everybody, one, is on the same page, and two, that if there was any need to have litigation over anything, you've got legal documents to present. Now, with respect to what is a transaction, you notice in my demo where when I hit the send button, that's a transaction. So anytime you hit the send button, you're going to consume a transaction. You could have 4 or 5 documents if you want to in that particular message, but you're only hitting the send button once. So that means you're sending for one, you're using up one transaction.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Tony, anything else you want to add to that, or move on to the next
Nope,
question?
I think he covered it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And so if there's more questions on that, we can certainly address that as well. Here's a quick question for Alex. So I know there was a question out there. I think I confirmed it, but can you add a table to a contract or a document that's going out for signing? So like a visible table to that document.
You definitely can. There's a tool called Document Builder, which will allow you to do exactly that.
Perfect. Okay. And there was a question that came in. Let me just read this out. If you use Adobe Sign to indicate who can fill out and sign different sections of a document, and you send it to everyone and they complete that or do that, can you go back and make changes or corrections to any of those sections, or are they permanently locked?
Well, that's a two-part question. You can have what we call conditional signatures, where viewers will have accessibility to certain information and they're prompted to sign what pertains to them. Now, having said that, the second that the first person signs an agreement, you cannot make any changes to that agreement at all. And the reason is, if you put yourself in the shoes of the person who signed the agreement and then it went to the next person and then they changed the agreement, that first signer doesn't know what they're signing anymore, and they're attached to something that they did not necessarily agree to. So there's no redlining capabilities. There are before you want to be able to say that document is finalized and going out for signature, but once it's been signed, there are no changes allowed.
Okay. Quick question here. If a signer selects to type in their name, but the font selected is small, is there a way to change that font selection or size?
Yeah, you can go in and change your fonts.
Perfect. Okay. Let me there's a couple here that I'm going to try to condense down. One of them talking about, is Sign HIPAA compliant?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Perfect. And can we use it to get consent from our study subjects? Broad topic on study subjects, but can you get consent based on HIPAA compliancy? That might be down in the weeds a little bit, but that was a two-part question.
It sounds like by consent, consent would come in the form of a signature.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. I 100% understand the question, but if there's a consent form, for instance, if that's what we're referring to, then there would just be signature fields on there that you can send out either in bulk. You can do it with a template, you can do it individually, or you can do it with a web form.
Perfect. Okay. Hopefully we answered that one. I know it's a broad subject there. Okay.
Yeah.
So can you combine 2 signed documents into one PDF?
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Oh, this is one that's new to me. Will Adobe Sign? Yes,
Corey,
go ahead.
Put a caveat to that. The sign part of that, maybe I misspoke. Once that document is signed, the signature it pertains to the document that it was placed on. So those two things would not relate to one another. They're going to be 2 separately legal documents. So I would not combine them.
Okay. Perfect. Here's a little bit of a long question, but there is an indication. We have a lot of forms that need to be filled out by the originator, but only signed by others. How do we mark those fields completed by the originator as done so that every signer doesn't have to tab through all the fields? It looks like they're currently doing that by hand, and it takes a lot of time. So I know that there's ways to set up the users that need to sign certain areas where they can just, tab through their section alone, if I'm understanding that correct.
So yeah, you can have conditional content where they would sign. Also, keep in mind that you can create the signing order for your recipients. So if recipient A signs, then it goes to recipient B. They're going to pass over recipient A. It'll still exist in the document, but they're going to pass over that and go right to where they need to sign. And as Cindy mentioned too, you can also have the originator pre-filled data, and then the signers will see those fields that are already populated.
Perfect. And then there was a follow-up question to Fill and Sign versus Adobe Sign.
Mm-hmm.
what is the difference then between free version of Adobe, which is basically fill and send or fill and sign, and Acrobat Pro?
Legal. Think in one word, I'll say that they're legal. So it's a free version for a reason. Acrobat Sign will give you the legal documents that you want. And
Perfect.
Acrobat Reader, Acrobat will not.
Okay. There is lots of good questions coming in. I know we're almost up at the hour here, but I'm going to throw out a few more. How can I confirm that a signature is legit from the sender and that it has not been tampered?
Well, it will not be able to be tampered with based upon all of our security features, but you're going to confirm initially with any authentication methods that you set up, whether it's with password protection, or we have a third-party service that would offer up KBAs. So for instance, I'm from Cincinnati. If somebody asks me where I was from and I put in Salt Lake City, then I'm not going to be able to access that document. But due to our security measures that we have, the signatures are tamper-proof.
Okay, perfect. All right, a couple minutes left here, real quick. A couple licensing questions. So Tony, if you want to maybe address some of these licensing. What is the difference between an enterprise license for Creative Cloud that includes Acrobat Pro and an enterprise license for Acrobat Sign? Are they the same or separate? That might be a in-depth question, but did Tony leave?
He might, but
nope, I'm still here, Corey.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
I'm still here. So there are significant differences, particularly if it's a higher ed product or a K-12 product. The big differences have to do with the ability to do workflow and APIs. And electronic signatures are available in the Creative Cloud product and most Acrobat features. The electronic signature is not available in the K-12 product, but it is available certainly in the enterprise. The other feature about enterprise that I like to point out to our clients is that enterprise provides you the ability to do things like that Alex had concentrated on: single sign-on, Active Directory, and federated. The non-enterprise versions are not as adept at doing that. So for me, the enterprise version allows you more control at an administrative level.
Fantastic. And we are just about the top of the hour. I will throw out one more licensing question. I know there's a ton more questions coming through, so we'll try to answer those in the chat pod and down the road. But an Adobe Acrobat license is not required to license Adobe Sign, correct? And I think the simple answer to that is correct.
That is
you don't
correct.
have to have Adobe Acrobat in order to purchase Adobe Sign. They do obviously work really well together. So if you do have Acrobat Pro and you do license Acrobat Sign, there is an integration obviously coming from Adobe. And a lot of folks can utilize the sign functionality directly out of Acrobat. So there's a lot of good benefits there. And with that, we're at the top of the hour.
Oh, never mind.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the main separation between Acrobat Pro and Acrobat Sign all lies in Acrobat Sign's various integration possibilities, whether it's their pre-built integrations or they're integrating through our API.
Perfect.
Excellent. Well, I do want to thank all of our presenters today and all of you for joining us. We have a couple of final poll questions for you that are on your screen in the bottom. Your feedback helps us for future events. Also, a reminder that there are resources, the links you can grab in the lower left there. We encourage all of you to take a look at those when you have time. The resources and the recording will be sent out in a follow-up email after the session. Thank you again for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care, all.